Hi, this is Chris Stevenson with Harborside Yacht Sales. I'm here with our 2018 Chris Craft Catalina 30 Pilothouse. It's one of our favorite models from last model year. This boat in particular, one of the big things that sets it apart, that sets all the Chris Crafts apart in general, is going to be the sloping tumble home aft here. It's a much more expensive way to design the boat and design the hull, but it really does give the boat, that finish and that look that is really the timeless Chris Craft design. This boat in particular, and you'll see once we get up in the cockpit, it's a full heritage boat, meaning it's full teak swim platform, teak accents, gunnel, bow, and the full floor in the cockpit is teak as well. The exterior of this boat is all going to be done in an automotive grade paint. So this is an example of our deep sapphire blue with the Riviera red stripe. The nice thing about doing the boat in paint is it's just like your Ferrari, you take care of it, it's going to be shining red in 5-10 years from now. Whereas, if it's gel coated, exposed to the sun, has the potential to fade and things like that, which is obviously something we're trying to avoid on a boat this pretty. So yeah, let's take a walk up in the cockpit and see what she has to offer.
Hi, this is Chris Stevenson again. Welcome aboard. We're on our Catalina 30 Pilothouse here. Just to go through the boat a little bit, one of the things that struck me about it when we first got on it was the usability that it offers to its owner. It's great for a family outing. It's great for an offshore excursion with the boys. To point out a couple things what I mean by that. The dive door for starters. It's a feature we see on a lot of the center consoles these days, but a lot of people don't really appreciate just how much it lends to the boat's usability. So, you have elderly people, it makes it a whole lot easier to be able to board from the starboard side and just pull right up to the dock than having to climb over the gunnel or climb through the transom or something like that. It also makes it a lot easier and a lot safer for kids and anyone that's swimming, relaxing, having a good time on the water with the integrated swim ladder. So built right in, stowed just under the teak table here. Stainless steel swim ladder folds right out of the door. It makes it, the biggest thing for me is just keeping the kids away from the outboards. It's obvious that they're not going to be running when you're swimming, but even still, things get wet back there. The last thing you would want is somebody to slip or some sort of accident to happen. So, prevention first is always a good idea. Moving into the back of the boat a little bit, you see we have a big open deck. Again, if you had anything that you were bringing around with you, you were fishing, you wanted to have somewhere to cast from, this is the spot for you. And then in just a few seconds, close this door here. In just a few seconds, all of your seating folds out. Not just seating, but got your integrated teak table here. Folds out in no time at all. And then you've actually got under this seat here, you've got an insulated ice chest, cooler. So you got a bag of ice in there, a bottle of white wine, you got your cheese platter on the table. And like I said, in under a minute, this goes from your casting deck to a great place to relax at the end of the day and have a sunset cocktail cruise. Everything really easily folds right away. And all the hardware, the high grade 316 stainless steel. That's gonna really last a long haul. A couple of things here just to point out, just slick Chris Craft differences. We got a couple of pieces of storage under here. So this is gonna be a ski tow bar. The ski tow slides in right here, and that's for if you're tubing, wakeboarding, water skiing. It holds the rope up above the outboards. Down here we also have some things I'll talk about in the bow in just a few minutes. We have our bow table, and we have the poles for our bow Bermuda shade as well. So it's really nice. A lot of manufacturers put these sort of features on the boat, but not all of them make it so that the pieces have a home when they're not in use. So it's really nice that Chris Craft goes out of the way to make sure that you have a place to put the stuff when you're not using it, instead of just having it fumble around in the head or something. Looking at the helm here a little bit. Again, the big thing I noticed at the helm, the tech is going to be the same on all the boats in its class. She's going to be powered by the twin Mercury 350s. So every time we put twin engine on a boat, we put the joystick on it. We've been a big fan of the Mercury joystick because it comes with Skyhook and autopilot. So the autopilot's pretty self-explanatory. The Skyhook is a really cool feature to come standard on the Merc joystick. What the Skyhook is sort of like a digital GPS anchor, if you will. So you hit that button and the computers on the boat work with the engines, and it will keep the boat in its exact GPS position with the same heading irrespective of wind, tide, you know, current and anything. The motors will move themselves so that they can counteract, you know, whatever forces are trying to move the boat around. You know, little fit and finish stuff as well that really sets the boat apart. You know, all your little real Burmese teak accents, your stainless steel nameplate here with your Catalina 30. Again, all real teak, the mahogany steering wheel. And one of my favorite things to point out to customers is when you turn the wheel, the Chris Craft logo stays facing you the whole time, which is a big thing. You know, they didn't have to do that. It's definitely not something you're gonna see on a Sea Ray. And then one other thing that actually we don't always point out to customers, but I think it's really a big differentiator for Chris Craft. A quick little story. Steve Jobs' dad was in the cabinetry business, and you know, something that he taught Steve Jobs was that quality goes far beyond what the customer sees, but it's what the customer doesn't see as well. You know, Steve Jobs' dad, the inside of the cabinet that no one ever saw was just as immaculately finished as the outside that everyone saw. And you know, it's nice to see that Chris Craft takes the same approach. We fold the helm forward here, and we get a look at all of the wiring harnesses and, you know, the whole way Chris Craft wired up the boat. And you see how neat everything is back here. You see on your wires, they're all labeled every few inches so that the mechanics all know what they're working with. Again, it's neat, it's clean, it's really easy to access. And not only does it make our mechanics' lives a lot easier, but it saves you a lot of money on labor costs. Moving off the side here a little bit. So the boat is featured with a full berth and a head. So we got a berth for two, hot cold sink, and then we have a head underneath the mattress. And then you see all your switching, battery switches, your head unit for the VHF as well. Close this up. And then if we just want to talk about the top here real quick. You know, like I said, this is called the Pilothouse top. This boat was offered with two. It's offered with the Sport Top or the Pilothouse. The Sport Top is good. You know, it's going to be a gunnel mount. I definitely prefer the Pilothouse to that. I think that the Pilothouse really lends itself well to the overall aesthetic of the boat. You know, it's a lot more smooth. I think the lines on it look a lot better. It makes it a lot easier to move around the boat. And the Pilothouse also comes with the electronic sure shade built in. So you have a switch at your helm that you're going to hit, and this shade here is going to deploy straight back to provide sun protection, and it covers the whole deck here. So the shade extends all the way to about here. So, you know, like I said, we have our table out, we have our bottle of wine, we have our plate of cheese. We can have sun protection, everybody can be lounging. Speaking of which, we actually have a similar thing up in the bow that I talked about earlier with the Bermuda shade. So those two poles that stowed under that back seat, they mount right in here. They come up equal height to the Pilothouse and then clip up to the Pilothouse. So what that does is you have this big loose Bermuda shade covering the whole bow. You know, you're anchored out, you and your wife are having a good time, and then this becomes the spot to be on the boat. You know, you have lights for if you're out at night, your bow spreader lights. You have the full Bermuda shade over you, your cup holders. I mean, I could stay here forever, whether we're on the water or we're in the showroom, I think. A couple other things to point out. You know, the boring stuff, storage under every seat. There's no need to go through that. Not gonna bore everyone to death. One thing that I talked about earlier was Chris Craft making sure that every little auxiliary piece has its own home. So right here up in the anchor locker, you're gonna see we have the mount for the bow table, and that stows right here, right in the bottom. And that table that was on the back seat sits right up top. There's also a cushion available that'll fill in here and make this sort of like a lounging area. Then going back to fit and finish stuff. One thing that, you know, a lot of people take for granted is going to be the, you know, the integrated, what they call the sculpture that Chris Craft makes for their navigation lights. You know, so it's a big one piece of stainless, 316 stainless steel that they have, you know, custom designed, and it's the same piece that's on every single Chris Craft, you know, for your nav lights. A lot of manufacturers are fine just throwing a red and green bulb up there, but for something like a Chris Craft, you know, that's not up to par. You know, it's not about doing just enough. It's about really going above and beyond. Yeah, I don't know just how much more I could say about this boat. I hope you all have enjoyed watching the video. I really encourage you to come down to the marina and take a look at her in person. Yeah, thank you very much for watching.